Okay. Shalom, family. Brother Ayapo, I had sent you an email a little earlier. If you don't mind, can you join the panel with me? I'm just going to have Brother Ayapo on here, at least for the first part of this hangout. I'm going to send it to your email. Please check your email. Let's see. Okay. All right, family. Now, while hopefully he will get my email shortly, let me just go down the list to say hello. Hello to the Queen, the True Royal Family. Hi, Kendra, Sister Winfield, Jack Johnson, Raw Black 59, Stephanie, Mata, Determined to be Motivated, Water Sniper, Peace to You, Sylvia, Robin, the Girl Wonder. Hey, girlfriend, how you doing? Otera, Judah Lioness, Katie 484, my brother. Israel, Ark of Yah, Shelly W, Paulette, Black First, Miss Ra, Yoruba, Gary, Andrew Toppin Jr., King Hebrew, Kendra, how you doing? King Wage, M. Mitch, Christopher Clipper, Crystal Clear, how you doing today? Joel Gillette, Jamal Bay, Sounds of EPIP, how you doing? It's good to see all of you. Ron Redbird 101. And my brother Ayapa Yapa. How you doing?
Peace, Sister Lisa.
We are going to be doing some reparation talk, brother. That's why I want you on the panel, because you have done videos in the past on reparations, and I have other things that I want to talk about with the family on notifying these representatives about reparations. I think we need to start jumping on that right now, and I will explain why I believe this is the time for us to start speaking up about it.
Absolutely.
777, hello. Vanessa Alexander, how you doing? Nicole Ali, welcome, sister. Mimi Dahl, welcome. Mickey Bricks, I think that's GRNPSP. How are you? All right, and IDK, how are you? All right, I don't mean to miss anyone, so if I did, all are welcome. Hi, August Dreams. How are you? All right, Brother Ayapo, thank you for coming on the panel. I just wanted to have you alone on the panel for now. because you are very knowledgeable about reparations. And, I've watched some of your videos on that subject matter. I think with the way things are going right now in this country, we need to understand the things that are going on and why this is probably the most important time than ever for us to start asking for reparations. Now, many of you might have heard about the sanctuary cities and DACA and all of the protections that they have in place for the immigrants, but they don't have these same protections in place for the descendants of the slaves that built this country. That should be a problem to all of us. Every Black person in this country should be screaming and hollering over these sanctuary states and cities that protect immigrants from the federal law, but the laws don't protect us, and we're being beaten and killed in these streets. That should be a big deal to all of us. They are pouring billions of dollars into sanctuary cities and states in this nation, but they're not pouring a dime to the Black community that have no protection under the law. The law is not protecting us. These courts are not protecting us. That should be a problem. Now, I'm going to read to you a few things that recently came out in the news that's going completely under the radar. And this is a problem that none of us are speaking out about this. Now, Brother Ayapo is speaking out. I've seen his videos. He's definitely speaking out, but he should not be a lone voice. This should be all of us screaming for reparations. Now, let's get into this. Now, there are sanctuary cities, and I'm gonna share my screen so all of you can see this. Hold on one second. All right, let me just share this with everybody. What you're looking at on this map, everything that you see, the green, these are what's called sanctuary states. The yellow are sanctuary counties around the country that protects immigrants. And I'll tell you what all of this means. And the red are sanctuary cities throughout the country that protect immigrants. Now, let me tell you what kind of protections they're getting from these states and jurisdictions around the country. All right, this came out May 30th, 2018. These cities, counties, and states have laws, ordinance, regulations, resolutions, policies, and other practices that obstruct immigration law enforcement and shield criminals from ICE, either by refusing or prohibiting agencies from complying with ICE detainers, imposing unreasonable conditions or detainer acceptance, denying ICE access to interview incarcerated aliens, or otherwise impeding communication or information exchanges between their personnel and federal immigration officers. So in other words, ladies and gentlemen, these places that you're looking at that are marked off on this map are refusing to follow federal law in order to protect illegal immigrants that came into this country by crossing a border. But we are the descendants of slaves that built this nation, and we are not getting any protection from the laws in this country. Now, they're saying that, if you look at their constitution, technically, we are not citizens, but they're not citizens either. And they're now getting more protection from the U.S. federal law than the people that were born and raised here and been working in this country all of our lives. Why are we not screaming for reparations? Why are we staying silent? I don't care about Drake. I don't care about Kanye. I care about this. And we all should be concerned about this. Something is wrong when somebody can cross a border illegally and go into a sanctuary city, state, or county, and they're more protected than a Black person here. Something's wrong. And I'm not talking to these knuckleheads running around telling us they got high IQs. I'm not talking about them. They don't have no damn power. We should be going to the politicians that are protecting these people, but failing to protect Black citizens from being gunned down in these streets. This federal law that's protecting them is not protecting us. Where's our reparations? Now, I want you to see this. This just came out May 29th. Homeland Security money went to sanctuary cities despite Trump's vow. Report. They sent $1.7 billion into sanctuary cities that don't enforce federal laws to protect immigrants. They're getting money. Where's the Black community's money? Billions are going to these counties that you see on this map. And these people are being protected and we're not? You know, we got to start focusing on the things that count for us. You know, I saw more hangouts about Drake. No defense. I know that's a hot topic now, but I will not be going to any more hangouts about Drake or Kanye. I'm sorry, I'm not. But I will come if you are talking about topics that we need to be concerned about and we need to move on. Now, in my opinion, we need to get a list of these politicians and all of the people that are holding the purse strings in this country and demanding, we ain't gonna ask for no goddamn reparation. We gonna demand it.
Right.
Okay, that's the only thing we should be doing. Now, brother Yapo, I'm gonna let you have the floor because you're very knowledgeable on the reparations, and I want you to speak.
Okay, thank you, Sister Lisa. You know, I have some knowledge on it, and I'm still in the midst of studying things, but some of the things that I found out are shocking. Now, a lot of people already know that John Conyers has been presenting HR 40 for years and years, and one of the worst parts about it is that HR 40 isn't even for discussing how to disperse reparations, how to implement them, or so. The HR 40 is about creating a committee that will talk about discussing putting together such a package. And every time he presents it, it would get blocked. And so what they're saying is they don't even want to talk about talking about it. And I think that one of the problems is that for our people is that we don't really believe, because of things like this, we don't believe that we'll ever get reparations. And so we don't fight that hard for them, because if you don't really believe something's going to happen, then in mass, you're not going to do a whole lot of fighting. But the thing is, you have to understand that when it comes to what moves politicians, what moves white people, and so on, it has nothing to do with appealing to their sense of right and wrong, has nothing to do with trying to appeal to their sense of justice, and so on and so forth. All that's out the window. That's not even on the table. What you appeal to is their self-interest. And so if a movement is put together that directly shows that it is going to affect their money and their livelihood if they don't move on our behalf, then that's what will get them to move to action. Because ultimately, all they're going to be worried about is their own skin and their own butt and their own money.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first thing. Also, I get a lot of hate and a lot of trolling from white people that like to say, we're never going to give you anything. Well, I'm not looking for white people to give me anything, because reparations does not come from the people per se. It doesn't come from individual white people.
Right.
Reparations comes from the country that did the wrong to the people.
Exactly.
So it's not about white people giving us anything. It's about the United States paying us or giving us compensation for the services rendered by our ancestors.
Right.
It has zero to do with some individual white people. They like to make it about that because they believe that they own this country, but it has nothing to do with them. It's about the country making payment. And it's like when you get a bill for your car or whatever you did for somebody. If you go and mow their lawn, and you come to them with your hand out, then it's not about how they feel about you. It's not about anything except pay me for this work that I did. Mm-hmm. So our ancestors, having built this country, and it's been proven many times by many people, black and white, in many ways, and there are many books written about it, proving that black people are the ones who built the United States. It proves that the financial system of the United States was built upon black people. And this is indisputable. It's been proven time and time again by black people and white people. Mm-hmm. And so knowing that, when it comes to us and receiving reparations, the reason that we're in the situations that we're in now is because during the times of slavery, during the times of Reconstruction, during the times of Jim Crow, while white people were buying everything up, while white people were being given land, while white people were having county agents come out, teach them how to use the land, while they were getting low-cost housing, while they were being given cars and all this different stuff, black people were on the sidelines and kept out of the system. So they got to build upon us while we were basically tied down. And then finally they say, well, you're loose enough, you can do do a few things. But by the time that we were allowed to do anything, everything was bought up.
Right.
Everything was used up.
And you know what, and Brother Ayapo, what they have done to us just in these past 2 centuries, we have the right to demand it. Number one, they have been taking our tax money, and we have been getting the poorest education in the country. They have been taking our tax money, and we are literally being executed by the police departments. Just on that alone, we have the right to demand reparations. They're not making good on serving the Black community well, but they are gladly taking our tax dollars.
Exactly. And the thing is that, like, white Americans, they love their precedents, and so there's no way to say that there's no precedent for the United States paying out reparations, because there are many groups who have received reparations from the United States, including quote unquote Jews who we did nothing to.
Right.
So there's definitely a precedent for it. It's not like this is some new thing that we're talking about here.
Exactly. And what I would like to see is, number one, we get what we're entitled to monetarily, and stop taxing the Black community. They don't tax the Native American Indians. Should not be taxed either. And, the deal that I would like to see, we get monetary compensation. We no longer pay taxes, and all Black debt forgiven. That's what I would like to see.
Right. And to be honest,
most of us have been in holes because of debts, and we just can't get out. And a lot of this is due to us being sabotaged as a community from getting ahead, and denying things that has not been denied to other groups that have come to this country. So therefore, I believe all debts that we have right now should be forgiven.
I absolutely feel that same way, and that's another thing. You have people like Obama, who said, and I couldn't. Well, no, I take that back. I was about to say I couldn't believe he said no, but I very much believe what he said when he said that one of the reasons that he wasn't for giving out reparations is that other minorities would be upset about. What in the hell does that have to do with the tax of copy in Colombia?
Well, other minorities didn't go through what we went through in this country. Other minorities are not being gunned down at the same rate that we're being gunned down on the streets. Other minorities are not being incarcerated like us. So, in my opinion, that argument doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Right. Not only that, it just absolutely has nothing at all whatsoever to do with the with the situation itself. And and when he said that he was just trying to find an out, he's just trying to find an out. But one of the things that that politicians like to say, and those who are against reparations, well, it's too complex of a subject, and we've gone too far down the line. But the thing is, what I say to them is, we didn't make this problem. You created this problem. It doesn't matter how complex it is to fix.
That's right.
You need to just go on and fix it within its complexity. But that's no excuse not to go on and do something about it and get this fixed.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, that's just groveling. That has much to do about nothing. That's just a bunch of groveling. But what I would like to see us do is come up with a list of demands. Like if we want free education at any college, we should be able to write down any demands that we want. I would like to see us draft either a letter or some type of phone script, and we start working on these politicians. It don't take a lot of us. It takes enough of us just to shake and rattle them. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to start working on these politicians and use any means necessary to at least get their attention. That's the first step. And, Brother T. West said something that I do agree with. It's time for Black people. Now, I don't vote. I don't believe in the system, but those of you that do vote, you need to consider getting away from Democrats. Seriously, right. The liberals have been nothing but a thorn in the Black community side. They have not been of any help to us. All they want to do is get a bout of white guilt and then get in our face talking about, well, I didn't do it. I don't agree with that. Oh, but that's not enough. Saying you don't agree with something is not enough. What are you doing to get rid of the systems in place that are disenfranchising the Black community? None of them are doing a damn thing. I don't want to hear nothing about this individual is not a racist. I don't want to hear that crap anymore. When they start that stuff, I just erase it when I see it in my comments. I don't want to hear it anymore. The liberals had decades to really dismantle a lot of these systems in place that have hurt the Black community, and they have done nothing. I don't want to hear anything else from these people. So many of you that are voting, you can go independent. I think if a big drove of us went and became independents, that will wake up a lot of these Democrats.
I
don't believe we should be devoted to anybody that's not helping us.
I 100% agree. I vote. I do vote. I vote independent, and the thing is that when it comes to voting, I've become 100% a one issue voter. And as I said in one of my shares, back in the 80s, when it was the topic of abortion, the Southern Christians, they got together. They became one issue voters. It didn't matter what else you were talking about on the subject of abortion is where they rallied. And when it comes to Black people, we have to become of the mind that that our rallying point is reparations, and we have to be prepared to back it up. In
Right.
other words, not saying, well, we're going to just have to vote for the lesser of two evils or what. No, no, no. If the person is not for reparations, I don't care if everything else that they have to say sounds good and so on. If they're not for reparations, if they're against reparations, like Bernie Sanders, then you say, well, you're not going to get my vote. You're not going to get my support. If that starts happening in mass, then that will cause these politicians to start to rethink their positions, because just like you were saying, Republicans and Democrats are two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you know what, brother? Here's the thing. What we also need to do is get a list of these politicians and see how many of them are supporting the sanctuary cities, states, and counties.
Mm-hmm.
And if they are supporting this, then we have every right to say, then why are you refusing reparations? How do you support someone that came in this country illegally and you are protecting them from the federal laws, but you will not protect the descendants of slaves that have been here? We didn't come here illegally. Okay, we were brought here by force. It was not done illegally. But these people came illegally, and you are using laws and money to protect them. I want to know exactly which one are supporting these immigrants, because those are the ones I really want to go after real hard.
Right, that's exactly true, and the question is exactly what you asked. Why are you supporting and protecting all these people who are here illegally? And then you have the descendants of the people who built this country, and you pretty much actively work against our interests.
Right.
And actually supporting DACA is working against our interests.
Exactly. And let me bring one more thing to your attention here. Let me see if I can find it. Now, and I've heard this from Democrats, and I don't know if any of you have caught this. There's this thought process among the Democrat politicians in Washington that are assuming that immigrants aren't really committing crimes. Now, I want you to just listen to this. This came out in The Hill on the 29th of May. Democrats often assert as fact that immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than U.S. citizens. Now, I want you to keep in mind, most immigrants that are working in this country are working under a fake identity.
Mm-hmm.
Or they are using a stolen Social Security number. So how does the Democrat Party come up with the assumption that they are less likely to commit a crime?
Exactly. I don't understand where they would even get those stats.
Okay, but this is the consensus that's coming out of Washington. But these illegals are actually committing more felonies in this country because they got fake identities.
Mm-hmm.
And not really identifying who they are. But see, I'm pissed off because, like I said, they got these laws in place to protect them from ICE. Police are not allowed to walk up and ask that they identify themselves. But how many times do they make a random Black person identify themselves? And that person either end up beaten and handcuffed or killed. This whole thing is just not making any sense. And this is where I believe we got a leg to stand on now.
I'm thinking that the United States has a track record and a long history of creating their own enemies. And I believe that one of the reasons that they're fighting so hard for DACA is because we have to take into consideration that the U.S. has always been against Black people and out to get Black people. And one of their, now this is just me guessing, but it seems that one of the reasons that they're pushing DACA so hard is because they're trying to create another enemy for our people, and somebody who can be like on the ground level, like foot soldiers, who can start giving us trouble. And what they're not realizing is that they're once again creating their own worst enemy from within. But you can't tell them that, because they're so focused on keeping us down and holding us back and not giving us the reparations we so richly deserve.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So, how do we hit the ground running on this?
I'll be honest. The very first thing that we have to do is in between our ears. We have got to get our mindset changed to where we really believe that we can get reparations. Because whenever people come against me, um, our people, they're always talking about how the white man's not going to give us anything. Oh, it's never going to happen, and so on. With that mindset, there's no way that you can ever push through and get it done. Now, it doesn't have to be every single black person on board. I'm kind of a believer in the 80-20 rule. 80% of results comes from 20% of the people. So we don't need everybody. We just need enough. And the real push is to get our people to believe that this can actually happen, to the point that we start fighting for it. And once we start fighting for it, then it comes down to organizing and putting it down in writing. Now, I tried to post a link, but I'm not modded up. This is for NCOBRA. It's the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. And the sole purpose of NCOBRA, or NCOBRA, is to get reparations for our people. And so there are already different organizations in place. And to me, it seems like we need to start linking up all these like satellite organizations into one. But there are a lot of them out here. Like I said, I tried to connect the link, but anyone who wants to go there, is called NCOBRA. That's NCOBRA, like the snake, online.org. And it's the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. And so once we en masse start getting of the mindset that we can receive these reparations, then we can find organizations like this and others that will that are already in place and working toward reparations, because they actually have different charters, different lists of demands, and so on. But that doesn't mean that we can't start to form our own list of demands too, right, and put them together and get these different, like I said, satellite coalitions together for one push, for one major push.
Yeah, I agree with that. And here's the thing. I think if we can start on the level with, like I said, compiling, it can't be hard, because all of these politicians got to publish, their location and their number and their, phone numbers and email and stuff like that. So it shouldn't be hard to put together those names. And, and then in addition, we can add organizations that are all geared towards reparations, and find out if there's a way we can all come together, and just take these individual groups and become one.
That's exactly true. And there's an old saying that all politics and news is local. If you go online and go on Google, all you have to do is type in my representative and then your city and state, and they'll give you a list of your representatives. And when you click them on, then it tells you how to contact them, either by phone or email. And a lot of them these days will also have their Twitter and so on. And you can contact them directly like that. You'll reach their offices. If enough people are talking to them, then again, they're going to start worrying about their constituency. They're going to start worrying about, oh, I might lose my job.
Uh-huh.
And that's and again, that's where you have to get them, is they're worried about losing their job, or they're worried about something happening to their, their high pay, low work job, to the point where they will do something on my behalf, just so that they can save their own skin, because they're not going to do it just out of goodness of their heart or the kindness of their heart.
They don't do nothing out of the. I'm already wondering if they even got a heart.
Exactly. And that's the thing. We just have to get out of this mindset also of, oh, they're not going to do anything for me. No, that's absolutely right. That's absolutely true. They're not going to do anything for you. You have to make them do something so that they're saving their own butt, because ultimately that's all they care about.
Mm-hmm.
Just put them in that position. So that's how you find it's as simple as a Google search for your local representatives, and then go on a letter writing campaign. But the thing is that before doing that, just as you have suggested, we can go on and create a type of a form letter with demands that we can send out, and then you don't even have to do a whole bunch of thinking behind it. Just sign it,
right,
and send it, and start sending it to your representatives, and then call, following up and calling them after that.
Right. Right. And, we can also email them as well. In fact, our senator here is Bob Menendez, and I have emailed him several times, and he writes me back. Believe it or not, he does respond, and he writes me back whenever I ask him a question. And that's what we got to get in the habit of. Now, many of them are going to be indifferent to this. We know what to expect, but the bottom line is we have to take that first step.
Exactly, and that's the thing. If one person is writing or calling their representative, then it's like a firecracker. But if you have people in mass, Black people in mass, contacting these representatives, then it starts to turn into a piece of a stick of dynamite or a bomb, and then they can't ignore it, and they have to really start looking into it. And what they end up doing is weighing. It becomes politics at that point. They start weighing, well, how can I get out of this? And we have to make it so that the only way for them to get out of it is to give us what we want.
Right. Right. And I know Dr. Claude Anderson has been working tirelessly on trying to get a package together for reparations. Now, I've heard over the years other groups that wanted to do reparations, but one thing they did that I disagree with, I can't remember. I wish they were on TV talking, and they said Black people shouldn't get money. And I'm like, no, that's not an option. If all of these other groups that got reparation got monetary checks and money out of it, I don't see why the Black community can't. I reject that.
I 100% agree with you. I believe it should be a complete package, though. I believe that we should get money, and we should get social programs, and I'm not talking about like the kinds that Democrats make, real social programs. And by social program, I mean something that that wipes out student loans, wipes out your taxes, wipes out wipes out Black debt.
Right.
Because we started out from the very beginning behind, as the saying goes, behind the 8 ball. So we've been trying to play catch up for over 400 years. And there's no way to catch up. And like my father used to say, you can't keep up if you can't catch up.
Right.
And so we have to be in a position where we aren't getting like equality. Now is the time for us to have advantage in this society. And one of my caveats also when it comes to reparations is that I want it to be something that doesn't tie us to the government.
Right.
something that doesn't tie us to the system. Because I'm trying to get the hell out of here. I'm trying to separate.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
give me my check on the way out the door.
Yeah. No, I know we do actually do need programs. We need programs where we can start, the people that get reparations want to start up businesses, and for people that want to get land and
Mhm.
try to get subsidies, if you want to do like a large farm with livestock, we should be entitled to all of that.
Exactly. And when it comes to farmland with livestock and so on, we should also be have access to prime land. And the government wants to use eminent domain for everything else. Use eminent domain for us, for my people, to
Right.
give us
But see,
land.
it's no excuse for them not to give us land, Brother Ayapo, because 47% of the US land is unoccupied.
Hmm.
So there's no excuse for them not to give us something.
Exactly. And make it so that once again we're able to get what we need and also separate. Now, those who want to remain tied to white people, that's their business. Y'all gonna stay over here. I want to go over here so I can have some peace and quiet
Maybe.
and
You
live
know
in
what?
peace.
Amen. Amen. Even if I want to just get the hell out of here and go to another nation altogether, I want the right to do it.
Right. And give me my check on the way out the door.
That's what I'm talking about. I might want to farm my land somewhere else.
Right. And again, I said this. I think it might have been Information Man show last night, but we've got to come out of this thinking of ourselves as individuals and think of ourselves as a collective and as a people, because we're also talking about the welfare of our children and our grandchildren here. Because I likely won't see the results of what I'm working for, but it's my grandchildren and their children, my children, that I'm trying to see, get what they're supposed to get,
Right.
and not have to suffer and struggle through dealing with this society. And that can only be done through reparations. As a matter of fact, reparations is just a good start, because we have so much work to do. But we should have access. We should have free access to here's one of the things. This is one of the things Black people really don't even think about. But we should have free access to any kind of ancestry, anything that will teach, give us hints to our ancestry or tell us our ancestry, because it's because of them that I can only trace my ancestry to the bottom of a boat.
Right. Exactly. But you know what, y'all? I saw somebody post in there, the Klan will come after it. Y'all got to stop thinking like that.
Right.
You got to stop thinking like that. You think if I got millions of dollars in reparations, I'm gonna let some damn Klan come after me and I'm not gonna fight their asses? Come on. y'all got to get out of that thinking.
Exactly.
You got to get out of that. If you got millions of dollars, you gonna just sit there and let some Klan come after you? Hell no. I promise you, I would be going after them even tougher. Okay? I'll
Right.
have them running.
And that's the thing. I don't do anything based on fear, or not do anything based on fear. Fear is what has been used against our people for however long.
For centuries. Fear has been holding us back for centuries. How about we get out of the fear and start going after the things that we're entitled to?
Exactly. And I'm not gonna go deep into this, but fear is what holds a lot of people holds a lot of our Black people in Christianity.
Right.
It's fear of letting go of it,
Mhm.
because I don't want to die and go to hell, and all everything. I don't live my life based on fear. I live my life based on knowledge.
Exactly. That's what I don't get. I don't get, you're already in a defeatist state of mind. If you're in fear of the Klan and not going after what you're entitled to, then you're already defeated.
Exactly. And I also say to anyone, because I talk about separation a lot, and there's always somebody that's going to cut. Well, okay, well, how are we going to do that? Well, what's going to happen if we separate? And my question to them will become, all right, say that everything you're saying is right. What's the alternative? To stay in this mess? To stay in this cesspool?
Mm-hmm.
You need to grow a pair and start fighting. Is
Exactly.
what needs to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And the thing is, if we don't take a step now, then you are accepting oppression for an eternity. I don't know about you, but I'm not accepting that for no damn eternity. And that's the way it is right now. You either try to make a move to shift away from this system, or obviously you're complicit and you're satisfied with what's happening to the Black community. I will never be satisfied with it.
Exactly. And I'll tell you, in the next Black person that comes up to me talking about pulling myself up by my own bootstrap, I'm going to strap on my boot and lodge it up their ass. Because you can't pull yourself up by your bootstraps if you don't have an infrastructure underneath you, if you don't have something supporting you. See, white people.
That's right. Give me my reparations so I can get my boots. Okay, how about that?
Exactly. What happened with the Caucasoid is that they built the country on us. They built their economics on us. Therefore, they were moving up. And just as I said at the beginning, while they were moving up, we were caught in the back. Mm-hmm. So when you tell us to start pulling ourselves up by our own bootstraps, we don't have the same structure. We don't have the same history and generations of wealth as white people do. Even if they were poor, or quote unquote poor white people, they still have social capital. They still have generational wealth behind them, because Black poor and white poor are two different things. When a white person's talking about they're poor, that means they only have $30,000 in the bank.
Right. And not only that, it is proven in history during chattel slavery, they did not work. They did not work. Mm-hmm. So there is no leg for them to stand on saying they earned everything, when history shows and can be proven they didn't earn anything.
Right.
They got everything off of our blood.
And we also need to let them stop playing these mind games with us, because Big Pharma, the oil companies, all them, everybody goes to Washington hat in hand. Agricultural goes to Washington hat in hand, with their other hand out, asking for money. When Black people that go and demand the money that is rightly due us, oh, why y'all Black people always begging?
Right. But when they do it, it's not begging.
Right, they're always there. They get it.
Just like they're opioid addicts, they're going to give them disability.
Exactly.
Handout for a bunch of junkies. Why don't they just pull themselves up by the bootstraps and get off of drugs?
Exactly. And that's the thing, is we have let them fool us into thinking that we have no pride if we go to Washington and make demands. No, that's exactly what we pay. Taxes. Right. We pay a lot of taxes, and we have just as much right to go up there hat in hand with our hand out as Big Pharma does, as the oil companies do, and so on. Making all that money.
What do you think all the lobbyists in Washington are for?
Exactly, for begging for money.
Right, they're lobbying for money. That's why they're there.
Exactly, and to my knowledge, we don't really have a powerful lobby. Our people don't really have any powerful lobbies. We have the Congressional Black Caucus up there. They're basically neutralized. They don't do anything. Right. For our people. So we have to kind of get the old guard out of there, mm-hmm. and start really getting some new blood up in there.
Well, the old guard is just that, the old guard, because they're all aged now.
Mm-hmm.
They
And
weren't fighting for us decades ago. You know they're not going to do it now that they're elders.
right, and talking crazy. Andrew Young talking about the Klan are the forgotten Americans,
Well,
or the Klan types are the forgotten
Andrew
Americans.
got a white wife now. You know that, right?
Oh Lord.
Yeah, Andrew got a white wife.
I don't, I don't think the sunken place has a bottom. I used to think it had a bottom. I don't think the sunken place even has a bottom.
Oh man, yeah. The civil rights brothers are all cropping up with white women now.
And and that's because they were given something. And I put Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson in there. They they may have been fighting at first, but then they started getting paid.
Yeah,
And they started getting paid and they got comfortable. It was like, okay, well, I got mine. You can go get yours now.
yeah, yeah. You know, I mean, and even the Black voices on TV are so controlled, they're not really getting to our issues like they should.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Jewish controlled media. So, of course, our issues are never going to be on the forefront.
Right. And that's why even on like YouTube, that's why our channels are suppressed. That's why our numbers are suppressed. That's why we have, if you're talking about Drake, your numbers will shoot up and they'll let everybody see that. But if you're talking about reparations, then people won't get their notifications, and the numbers will be down. All this, and that's because they don't want us talking about issues that matter.
Yeah,
And they're actually going to do something to move us forward.
exactly. But see, we need a whole, like you said, we need a whole fresh new generation to start pushing this agenda, because we know, unfortunately, the civil rights crowd, they're elders now, and unfortunately many of the generations now are, like you said, they don't even want to believe that this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
you know and that in itself is a problem, but the agenda does not require everybody. That's the thing.
Right.
Just require a few strong people that are willing to stand up and do whatever we have to do to get this in front of the faces of the people, whether they want to see it or not. And my thing is, I believe we can use this tool with the immigrants that are coming here illegally and being protected
Mm-hmm.
as a good, strong tool for why we deserve reparations.
Right. That's exactly right. A lot of people don't know that when legal immigrants first get here to the United States, they are tax exempt. It used to be for 3 years. I don't know if it's still like that, but when they first get here, they're tax exempt for a time, and then they are also given low interest loans from the SBA and so on,
Mhm.
and that's so that they can get their feet up under them and start building in society. That's legal immigrants. And my question becomes, why can't you give those same things to Black people in the Black community? And
Right.
someone who just got
That
here.
they give them loans where they can start businesses, and they are all feeding themselves through the
Mhm.
Black community. You got all these Chinese people making a beeline to the Black community. The Arabs do, the East Indians, they're all literally eating off of us now.
Right. And they're getting money from the government to do it.
Right.
And again, for the legal ones, they don't have to pay taxes. And like I said, it was 3 years. I don't know how many years, if any, it is now. But one of the things that shows is that even our own government knows that the tax system is oppressive
Yes.
and makes it so that you can't get ahead. Or
Mhm.
else why would they tell them they don't have to pay taxes for a certain amount of years until they get their feet up under them?
Right. Exactly. Now, according to the immigration on DACA, once these illegals have been here for 5 years, they are entitled to all of the government benefits that, any citizen in America can get.
Mm, mm.
They can collect Social Security, they can get Medicaid, they can get food stamps, they can get all of that. Well, all they have to do is prove they've been here illegally for at least 5 years or more.
And once again, now where's all this money going to come from? Because
obviously, Brother Ayapo, it's coming from us as well. We're paying into these taxes and we're not benefiting at all. And that should be the number one thing Black people should be complaining about. We've been here for decades and centuries, and we've been pouring tax money into this system, and the system is not serving us well at all.
Well, Philando Castile worked at a school cafeteria, and he paid taxes out of his paycheck. So part of the taxes he was paying were paid for the bullet that took his life.
Right. Exactly.
That's what we're paying for. That's the services we're paying for.
Right. And, tax money is paying for all of these police forces around the country, and they are very anti-Black. And we are tolerating this and paying them. That is just insane.
Right. It makes no sense at all. And the thing is, when it comes to reparations, and something, again, I'm always saying something that has to be understood that reparations isn't just to infuse money into the Black community. Because if they just handed out money to Black people, now I will say this much is true: if they just handed money to Black people, just handed me a check, 80 to 90% of it would go right back into the hands of some white men. Because what would happen is Black people would use those checks to either buy a car or pay their rent or pay their utilities, catch up on bills or whatever, depending on how much they got. Mm-hmm. So we also have to, before we even get the money in our hands, have it geared in our minds and have a system in place where we're already frequenting Black-owned businesses, supporting Black-owned businesses, so that as soon as that money finally does start to flow to us, that we send it right back in our community, and that it just keeps turning within our community.
Right.
Because everybody else is building.
That's right. That's what it should be. And and the focus should not be on, I know people want to pay stuff off, but that's what I'm talking about, the debt. If we were to get this, then all debt would be taken care of. We wouldn't have to pay it. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's one of the demands we got to make. All debt, all Black debt in this country is to be forgiven. So there will be no more mortgage payment. You will automatically own whatever land, property, homes that you have.
Right.
That's got to be part of the demand.
And it should be like all the debts are forgiven with no penalty.
Right.
In other words, it doesn't affect your credit. It doesn't affect your rating or anything. It's not like you went bankrupt. It's like the debt was totally wiped out, and you have a clean slate. Right. Because the other part of that is that the reason that we're in this struggle in the first place is because we're trying to play catch up, and it has been proven through several studies that because one of the things that people like to say, who are against Black people getting money, is that we'll use it frivolously. Well, number one, if I chose to flush it down the toilet, that's my business. Just give me my money. Just give me what's coming to me.
That's what I told a white woman. We got into a heated discussion, and she was like, "Okay, so we gave you 40 acres and a mule. What you gonna do with the mule? Forget it. Why are you worried about what I'm gonna do with it? Just fork it over.
Exactly.
If I'm entitled to it, you give it to me anyway. I know I don't want no stinking ass mule. I would rather for you to give me a tractor." So I can work my land, but if you handed me a mule, don't worry about it. I'll figure out what to do with it.
Exactly. And
those not for you to worry about. That's for me to worry about.
No, they love coming to us with those straw man arguments. There are actually no arguments at all. And the fact is that there are several studies, there are many studies that were done that shows that Black people do not spend money any more frivolously than white people do.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, that white people actually do spend money more frivolously than Black people, and that we save at the same rates. But yet we are still on the bottom economically, which shows that there's a systemic problem.
Oh yeah. Just in income alone, I think for every dollar a white man get, I think Black women get like 53 cents. You know, so
Right.
you already got us at a disadvantage. We've been at a disadvantage from day one. So the reparations, number one, pays us for work that was actually done. It's not like we're asking something for nothing. That's not the case at all.
Right. Well, see, the thing is too, you'll have the same ones. They'll say, "Well, look at these Black people. They'll spend $200 on a pair of shoes or a pair of tennis shoes or gym shoes or whatever." And these are the same people that sitting with a curio cabinet full of Hummels. They do nothing but sit there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they want to talk about us spending money frivolously. That's not even the point. It has nothing to do with it. And again, we don't spend money any more frivolously anyway.
And number two, that shouldn't even be part of a conversation, how someone is spending their money. If they earned that money, that's their business.
Exactly.
That's a conversation that shouldn't even be on the table.
Exactly. When was the last time that anyone who has a job, that anyone has ever gotten their paycheck at the end of the 2 weeks and had whoever was handing them the paycheck, their boss or whoever's passing them out, say, "Oh, well, what you gonna go buy? What you gonna go buy with it? What are you gonna do with it? It's none of your freaking business.
Right.
What are you gonna do with yours?"
That's right. That's right. That's how I see it.
Has absolutely nothing to do with it. This is for services rendered. Our ancestors suffered, bled, and died
Right.
for this money. This country is built on their bodies.
And not to mention, some of us, like me, I was able to trace my family tree, and my family has had land in the South stolen from them. And it's many of us. There's many of us that, many of these people that were lynched, their offsprings, they're still here. Their
Right.
families are still here. And then you have people like Henrietta Lacks. You took cells from her body without authorizing it from her family, and you've made millions of vaccines out of it.
Right. And her
family was dirt poor and didn't have any money.
Right. And they made billions of dollars off of it.
Right. So there are so many situations, so many examples we can throw in their faces where they benefit off of our pain.
Right.
We never got compensated for it.
And the thing, another thing too, is to those who don't want to who don't want to fight for these reparations, those of our people who think that it's a lost cause or it's too hard to fight. I want you to just think about something. When we don't fight for reparations, it is a direct slap and insult in the face of our ancestors, for those who died on this land, and for those who died on the trip over here, the millions whose bodies still lay in the ocean.
Exactly.
It's a slap in their face.
Exactly.
For us not to fight.
Right. And by us not fighting, we're not even showing that we give a damn about our own selves. At least it show that you got some damn dignity within yourself enough to fight for what you're really entitled to. See, they expect us to always be on the sidelines, quiet. But right now, if we remain quiet, do you know these illegals they're already getting ahead of us because they are getting protection under the law that we're not even getting.
Exactly.
They're already moving ahead of us.
It's a mess right now. uh, right now, when it comes to Hispanics, they now there's a scale, and I saw this on Antonio Moore's site. And those of you who have never heard of Antonio Moore, don't watch Antonio Moore, please. It's Tone Talks. You got to start watching this brother. He comes with the knowledge, and he comes with the stats always. And he was showing a bar graph of white wealth, and he was showing where black people are, and we're almost flatline. When it shows Hispanics, they're just a little bit lower than us, and within the next few years, they're going to overtake us,
Right.
and be ahead of us financially in the United States, and we're the ones that've been here.
That's why I'm saying this is the perfect time for us to start fighting.
Mm-hmm.
This is the time. You see what they're doing already. They are shielding these people from the law, but they are enforcing the law on the Black community. There is no one that should be satisfied with that.
Right, that's exactly true. And like True Royal Family has often said, and it was because of her that I really started to understand this, is that when you're dealing with white people in the legal system and with the law, when first off, when you're dealing with black people, they always make us go by the letter of the law.
Mm-hmm.
They always the standard that they put us under is the letter of the law.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to white people, and now evidently immigrants, it's about the spirit of the law.
Right.
It's never the spirit of the law when it comes to that. So that's something I learned from True Royal Family, watching and listening to her shares.
Right. Right now, they are totally disregarding the federal law on immigration and shielding these people from even ICE. ICE is not even allowed to approach them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to know why you're not seeing as many illegals, is because, see, they done smarten up and they're running to these sanctuary places. That's where they are now in the country. So if you're not really seeing that many around you, that's because they have migrated to these locations all around the country where they know the laws are not being enforced and they're being protected.
Right. And in keeping in mind that when white people do things, there's always a reason for what they do.
Right.
And if they are, because they don't like immigrants any more than they like us, but they like us less. So I'll put it like this: they hate immigrants as much as they hate us. They just hate the immigrants a little bit less. And their whole thing is to use immigrants as a wedge against us.
Right.
And that's the reason that they're doing all these things and trying and giving them giving them sanctuary and making it so they can have access to monies that even our people don't have access to, in addition to their own opioid addicts and getting disability and so on.
Right.
They're doing all of this to continue to cripple our people.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And to hold us back.
Exactly.
Right? In a conversation like the one that we're having now, I believe that there are many of us who want to fight, and it's just that we don't know exactly what it is that we should do. And that's fair, because that used to be my question. Okay, well, I know what needs to be done. What do we do? So again, if the mindset is already geared to fighting, and I'm going to fight this thing, then that next step is, as you were saying, we have to come up with our list of demands that are realistic demands. Because one thing I can't stand is when people come up with stuff that's unrealistic and sounds kind of stupid.
Right.
Like, well, I demand that all white people leave the United States. That's stupid. But that's I like it, but it's still stupid.
Yeah.
But a real list of demands would include things like what you were saying, is that black people don't have to. Oh, and another thing, we have to define who is entitled to reparations, and
Right.
that would be anyone who can prove that they are a descendant of slaves in
Well,
America.
I can prove
And
that
that,
on both sides of my family.
right, and to be honest, that's not as hard
It's
for us to prove as people think it is.
it's easy. Not only can you piece it back, you
Mm-hmm.
can actually do it through birth certificates. That's how I was able to get mine all the way back to the 1600s.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to piece back. I got the birth certificate, saw the parents, and then I got their birth certificate, saw their parents, got their birth certificate, and I was able to go all the way back to the 1600s on both sides of my family, mother and father side. So it is not as hard as you think. Plus, you can go to the previous census of the 19, 1800, 1700, and you can actually locate your family members through the census.
Mm-hmm.
I was able to find mine. So it's not as hard as you think. It is going to take some work and effort, of
Right.
course, but it's not impossible to find out.
Right. It's definitely not as hard as people think it is. And for me, it wasn't through the birth certificates. And my sister is the one who actually did the hard work and did the footwork, but it wasn't through the birth certificates. It stopped at the birth certificates and finally got back to the actual receipts of sale.
Yes.
And my great grandfather was sold for $600,
Mm-hmm.
and I have the paperwork for that. So
I even know where my family ran away to, runaway slaves. Now, I know I have never discussed this with y'all. My maiden name was Thomas, Thomas. I was Lisa Thomas. And I got to a certain point and I could no longer trace the Thomas. And I was like, why can't I trace my family beyond the 1700s? And I couldn't figure it out. And this is what happened. My family was originally in the Carolinas on plantations, different plantations there. A few of them ran away, and one of them was my great 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 grandfather. The last name was Smith on the plantation. When he left the plantation as a runaway slave, he changed his whole first and last name. That was a common thing that was done by runaway slaves so they would not get caught.
mm-hmm.
So he ended up changing the name to Thomas. But, I wasn't getting it right away, but that's what happened. So when some of y'all say, oh, well, that's your slave name, not necessarily. A lot of those slaves had to change their names when they ran away. Of course, back then they didn't go by DNA and, and your dental records and all that. That stuff didn't exist back then. But that was the only chance they had to keep themselves free if they took on a whole new identity. And that's what most of them did. So we were the Smiths, and we went from the Smith to being Thomas, renamed by my great 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 grandfather. So that's one thing. It can be very involved finding your lineage because of what happened to us in this nation, but not impossible.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Before my great great grandfather,
Mm-hmm.
when he changed his name, before that, my last name would have been Dubignon.
Oh.
And is there anything about my black ass that looks like Dubignon? But the thing is, it is something that we can find out, and once we establish that we are descendants of slaves, then that opens the door for everything else that pertains to reparations. That's another thing. That's another reason we have got to stop all this swirling.
Right. We got to stop all these gender wars too.
Right. But
we all suffered in this society. There is no need in us trying to act like, well, the men suffered more. Well, no, the women suffered more. Forget that shit. We all suffered.
That's right. My point as far as not marrying, not interracially marrying, has to do with once we once we do start receiving our reparations, I don't want to be attached to somebody white, and now I'm getting my reparations,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I have to share them with somebody a Caucasian.
Brother Ayapo, you bring up a good point, because you know what? If we do get reparations, watch how many people will start claiming Black lineage. Watch how
Exactly.
many that don't even look Black. Watch how many. I promise you, all these Latinos that don't want nothing to do with you, all of a sudden they're going to find a Black relative somewhere. And so will these white people. You watch. You watch.
So,
Everybody's going to find a Black relative all of a sudden.
right. It'll be the $5 Indians all over again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, everybody trying to get their piece of the pie. You have somebody that
$5 Blacks. That's right, Gwen B. The $5 Blacks.
because you have people white as a sheet of paper coming up talking about, well, my great grandfather was a slave.
Yes.
And it would be because I married him.
Mm-hmm.
And so now they have a piece of the Black money that was meant for Black people, descendants of slaves.
Exactly.
So we've got to get control of ourselves and start keeping the money in house.
Right. So of course you would have to set criteria for that kind of stuff, because like I said, you're going to have all these people coming out of the woodwork, even Asians. Oh, well, you know, my grandmother was Black, and oh, well, this one was Black. Yeah, you know, you're going to have that situation.
Right, exactly. And so that's another part of it that we have to address. But I guess that's down the road for after we even get HR 40 to be talked about and move forward.
Right.
And as far as I'm thinking there should actually be like a precursor to reparations that makes it so that Black people who will and want to, it can actually be a part of a requirement to receive reparations, that you have to prove that you were the descendant of slaves. But being able to prove it should be something that's free to Black people.
Right.
Maybe the end of that will show that you weren't a descendant of slaves, and maybe it will, but it should be free to anyone who is Black.
That's right.
Because
whatever information that this nation has, that should be revealed to us.
Right.
Or hiding shit. That's another thing that we have to make sure is made clear, because in many instances, they know who we are, and they have information that they're not revealing to us.
Right. That's true. And it all goes back to the fact that they made this mess in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, the impetus is not upon me to fix the problem.
Exactly.
You fix the problem.
Burden of proof is not on us, it's on them.
Right. You created the problem.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not for me to fix.
And and another thing, you don't have to talk to them about what we get. It's not a requirement. And we are not slaves anymore. We do not have to have any conversations with them about what we get or what we're trying to do. This is our fight. It like Brother Ayapo said, it has nothing to do with no individual white people.
Exactly. And I no longer, as a practice, talk to individual white people about reparations, because it doesn't have anything to do with them.
Right.
They love coming to me saying, well, I'll never give you anything. I'm not asking you for anything.
Right. Who's asking you?
Exactly. I'm asking the government to pay our people for services rendered.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing. It has little or nothing to do with you. It's not your money. It's the government's money. Nobody's trying to take anything out of your pocket, but white people are such that, unfortunately, they feel like, as a matter of fact, it's just curious that they kind of don't mind seeing everybody else get something. But if they even think Black folks are about to get something, then they're all up in arms.
Right. Right.
But who cares? I couldn't care less. All I'm worried about is
I don't care. Yeah, and we have so much to prove. Not only our chattel slavery, but even how they ran all of our people through this prison system right after slavery.
Hmm.
And we went through Jim Crow. Um, Lynch victims were not compensated. White mobs stole property. You
Hmm.
know, when I was talking to my grandfather when he was still living, he said it was real deep. When those white mobs went in there, they stole the land, they stole the homes, they stole the bank accounts. And he said even a lot of these businesses that were established in their families hundreds of years ago and they've been passing down originated with a black owner. And the business was stolen, and
Hmm.
the white people took over the business and started passing it down through their family.
Right, exactly.
So much have been stolen from us.
A lot of people don't even know that the living descendants of the victims of Black Wall Street still have not received any compensation.
That's right. And in you know about Wilmington, North Carolina?
I do not.
Wilmington, North Carolina was predominantly black. After the white mobs went through there and killed a whole bunch of black folks during an uprising,
Mhm.
Wilmington, North Carolina today is all white. And many of the black people, descendants of the people that were part of the that were killed by white mobs, they're right now in the courts trying to get the land and property back that were stolen by whites. White people are, and they're saying, well, we didn't know. Our grandfather told us that he bought this property or he bought this house. We didn't know. That shouldn't cut it. It don't belong to you.
So,
Your ancestors, your forefathers stole that from the rightful owners, which were black. But
so,
that's what happened in Wilmington, North Carolina.
so you're trying to say if my great grandfather robbed a bank and got $800,000 and buried it under the floor of the house, and we kept handing that house down, and one day I dug up the floorboards, found that money, and then the bank said, "Give me my money." I said, "Well, he's dead and gone. My family has you know been living in this house for generations, so I get to just keep the money." Is that right?
Yeah. But that's how many of them got their wealth too, from stealing during those. They did those mobs on purpose because they knew the end result is they were going to steal everything those black folks had. They
Hmm.
were running for their lives. So they left everything behind. Many of them left their homes, left everything. All of, their, if they had vehicles, everything, the bank accounts all got left behind because these people ran with nothing but the clothes on their backs. That happened a lot. 68 towns were destroyed by white mobs. And those white mobs stole the land and property and everything from those black people. And like I said, they stole their bank accounts. And when those folks left, they literally had to start from scratch. Those
Well,
black people that had to run.
well, see, they like to prop themselves up as having these high IQs, and the reason that black people aren't as successful is because we're not as intelligent. It doesn't take a lot of intelligence for me to go out and rob someone. All you have to do is have more firepower and get the jump on them. So if everything that you got is because you somehow stole it, including inventions and patents,
Right.
you
That's
know,
why they wanted to own the patent offices because it was all of our inventions going through them.
right? It doesn't take a high IQ to do that. It doesn't take a lot of intelligence to do that. You
No,
know, if I have a group coming at me with spears and I have and I have weapons, then I don't need a lot of intelligence
no, it
to
takes no brain.
overcome those people.
Exactly. They act like it was some big victory that they got America, but you got to look at how they did it. They
Hmm.
came on land with guns and fought against people that they had no guns because people just didn't fight each other like that.
Right.
And people, they had their little wars, but nobody needed guns. Nobody needed those kind of weapons. They didn't kill each other like that on this land. And then when they come on land with a gun, and I got a spear, of course you got an advantage. It doesn't take, you can put a gun in a 3-year-old's hand and they can kill somebody.
Exactly.
It don't take any brain to do that. That's not real, that's not a victory.
And the fact that the entire financial system is already poised to collapse shows that they don't know how to run anything. The
No.
housing markets collapse, through their greed and avarice. Um, they don't handle what they have well. They know how to prop it up in such a way that if the system's looking bad, they were just pumping money into it to
Right.
get the facade that is still working. We've been off the gold standard forever, and now now that it's about to collapse, on the brink of collapse, is basically showing that it was a house of cards in the first place, and that you didn't have like these big intelligent minds propping everything up. Because they like to look at like Warren Buffett and say, "Oh, he was, a financial genius." No, he just knew how to print money.
No, and
Plugged
many
into the
you
system.
know what old money means, right? Old money means they got all of their wealth through slavery. All of these elites
Mm-hmm.
that are billionaires all got it through slavery. Every single last one of them. Every single one of them. There's not one that didn't get their wealth through slavery. Not one.
Well, I can even say to my embarrassment and my shame that I didn't know until about 6 months ago that the first commodity sold on Wall Street were slaves.
Yeah, I did a video on that.
Yeah, I'm just now learning that. As old as I am.
And you know what? You know how I knew they sucked at business, Brother Ayapo? I started looking at the Wall Street Journal.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see companies that lose $200 million in a quarter.
Right.
Company Uber lost $800 million in 6 months. Who the hell loses that kind of money and you know what you're doing? That right there tells you, just pick up a Wall Street Journal. These companies lose tons and tons of money every single year, and many of them in a short period of time. You'll look, such and such manufacturer lost $100 million in the first quarter. Like, how the hell do you lose that?
Exactly.
And Wall Street loses $1 trillion every single year. Every year.
And again, that just shows that they really don't know what they're doing. And when there's an actual crash, all that is an illustration of the fact that they were able to hold a lid on it for however long by shuffling things around. It's like what happened with Bernie Madoff. He could shuffle things around, for a certain amount of years, but sooner or later it always catches up, and then the result is a financial collapse or a crash.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens in cycles. And if you know what you're doing, you won't have such a cycle happen to you.
Right. And that's why I did the video showing you how many corporations are leaning on Black labor through the prisons,
Mm-hmm.
just to show you that this has never stopped.
Right.
This country. And it is really the big generation of money being generated in America right now is all through Black people.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, in the prison system. And then you got your sports and entertainment where Black people are dominating. Right now, all of those multi-billion-dollar venues and corporations and everything, they're making a killing off of our people.
Mm-hmm.
We're not seeing it because it's not in plain sight. They got the prisons, they got our people behind walls now where you can't see it openly on a plantation. But they are really generating the wealth for America to this day. And they're just keeping it hidden and making you believe that you're not doing anything. Oh, you're not making contributions. You're lazy. First of all, how did lazy slaves build a nation?
Right.
Not even make sense to you. Number two, you know, they came up with the black codes talking about it's because after slavery, black people were lazy. Their asses didn't even work. Where did they get off getting on a soapbox talking about somebody's lazy?
What I've discovered about pink people is this: that anything, and when I say this, I've finally come to the realization that what I'm about to say is 100% of the time, not 99, 100% of the time. Whatever white people accuse of anybody else is because it pertains to them. If they call us lazy, it's because they're lazy. If they call us rapists, it's because they're rapists. If they call us murderers, it's because they're murderers. Every single solitary thing that they accuse black people of, it actually pertains to them.
Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
Call us slaves. Africans did not go to some other country and commandeer and kidnap people to bring them over to Africa to work for them so they could sit on their ass.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, they look at it like this: it's a necessary evil to keep us in captivity so that they can remain in their cushy lives. And in my opinion, it's time for us to ask for reparations and start shaking up those cushy lives.
Right. And see, Sade Jones just said that they accuse us of being racist, which is absolutely true. He said just like now, or she said just like now. It went past me too fast. But she was talking about how they accuse us of being racist. That's because they're racist.
Yeah, yeah, and we have never stopped being slaves. You know, like I said, they just hide it in the prison system now.
Right. They call us monkeys, but they have simian DNA.
Right, exactly.
It's everything that they accuse us of is actually because it pertains to them. And we stop internalizing what they say as if it matters. They're not God. They're not superior.
No. And that's what I'm saying. We got to cut off conversation with them, especially on social media. It is no point in going back and forth with somebody that wants to keep a system in place that subjugates another group of people so that they can live comfortably.
Right.
Why are you even debating with them? Really, you shouldn't have anything to say. You know, if anything else, if you don't want to, if you have to say something, post that. I don't have nothing to say to you. I don't care about your comment. I have nothing to say. You know how that's going to burn them, especially when they love our attention. Even if it's for negative reasons, they can't live without Black attention. They can't live without it. That's why they keep coming among us as much as possible, trying to air out their racism, because they seriously, no matter how bad they talk about us, they can't stay away from us.
That's the absolute truth. And as Black people, we have really got to start vetting out some of our own people. We need to start looking at papers and looking at their histories. You know, just because you come on the scene and you talk Black and it seems like you're saying the right things, I want to see what your history is.
Yeah.
So that I can know whether you're going to turn on us or not.
Yeah. And another thing that we absolutely got to do is start turning off the cones. Just leave it alone. These are people that are never going to come around. They're going to always love the oppressor more than they love their own. I have no interest in changing their minds. I just want to move ahead with the people that are ready to do it.
Right. And that's the thing too, is I might draw some heat for saying what I'm about to say, but if a person wants to be all up under white folk, go be up under them. Please, as a matter of fact, I would prefer that you go and be up under them. but leave our people alone. Leave pro-black people alone so that we can go on about our business and go and do what we want to have and build a community.
Exactly.
Without you in it. So we don't have to worry about, because every like big movement, every uprising, everything that ever got thwarted, was because of some coon.
Yes.
Not that, of course, it was a white person behind, but it's always some coon. It's always someone from within our race.
I've heard other black people say. I've even heard other black people say black people don't deserve nothing. I've even heard this come from the mouth of other black people.
Right.
And we got to just start cutting people like that off. If that's their attitude, then let them sit with nothing. But we fight for what we deserve. We're not asking you to give us something for nothing.
Mm-hmm. And it's because of, and there's so much more to it. Not only is it payment for services rendered, but it's compensation, because there's a difference between payment and compensation.
And all of the damage they have done to us psychologically.
Exactly.
That has to also be taken into account too.
Right. It's like in a court case where the person wins the case and they get a settlement and they get damages.
Right.
Because they're separate issues, and our people have been damaged. Yes. We should also, as a package, in a reparations package, as part of that package, we should have free access to any kind of counseling that we want to go to.
Right.
With choice of counselors, because I wouldn't go to a Caucasoid counselor.
I agree with that too. And black people get not only counseling, but we get free health care. We don't have to pay for no health care.
Exactly, because they changed our diet.
A lot of even our physical problems, Brother Ayapo. Many of us are physically messed up because all of this GMO food and all of this stuff that's bad for us. And in many cases, you can walk in a supermarket and that's all they got is a bunch of GMO stuff. So they've messed us up physically too.
In addition to stress.
Yes.
Because see,
daily stress.
White people go out the door and they go out the door and do whatever they're going to do. When black people go out the door, we don't know what we're going to encounter. We don't know what we're going to run into. We don't know what kind of race. That is stress. That is constant stress. And the irony is that now they're starting to get a taste of it. Because I saw a story where they were talking about how the students at schools around America are nervous about going to school, for these last couple weeks before the schools close. And one of the parents was talking about how her, when her daughter leaves to go to school, she doesn't know what's going to happen or if she's ever going to see her again. The same way that somebody might talk about if their husband or wife was a police officer and they're like, when they leave the door, I don't know if I'm ever going to see him again.
Exactly.
And so now you're starting to get a taste of knowing what it feels like to walk out the door and not know what you're going to encounter. Mm-hmm. You're getting a taste of knowing what it feels like.
I read an article where yeah, exactly right. I read an article not long ago of how many of them are now taking their kids out of school because of all of the mass shootings.
Exactly.
Are now snatching their kids out of school. They're like, I don't want my kid to get killed in school. Right. But you're right. Let them experience it. We've been experiencing this stuff for centuries.
Yeah, and there's, the United States for a black person is a completely different place and a completely different experience than it is for a Caucasoid. It's right. It's like the Titanic, and you're either a guest on the ship or you're working down in the engine room in the bowels of the ship. That, if you were to ask each of those people, you ask a person from the Lido deck, what they think of this ship, and then you ask somebody from down in the engine room who's covered with soot what they think of the ship, they'll give you two totally different stories because they're both on the same ship, but it's a completely different experience.
Mm-hmm. Right. And and ladies and gentlemen, another thing, they don't get to demand that we love America. You know, with the NFL talk, they get angry because you don't want to stand up for the national anthem. They don't get to put those demands on Black people.
Right.
And that's another thing that we have to make very clear to them. Whether they receive it well or not, that's on them. But they do not get to demand that we love America after everything we have gone through.
We're dealing with a country that during World War II, when Black soldiers were going into combat and getting killed, when Nazi soldiers were caught and being detained, and they were putting them on trains, the Nazi soldiers or the Black soldiers had to give up their seats to the Nazis. They had to give up their seats to the enemy.
Yeah.
To the country's enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Because our country put their whiteness over their countrymen.
Yep. I remember.
So we've never been citizens.
No. But see, that's why I'm saying this is the perfect time, because these immigrants are not citizens, and they are giving them protections. They're giving them money. They're getting them all kinds of perks that the descendants of slaves are not getting. Mm-hmm. So I believe we got a leg to stand on.
Right. And the Bible says you have not because you ask not. Well, not only are we asking, our asking has to turn into demands.
Yes.
Because you can't negotiate from a position of weakness. We have to come together en masse and be a strong force so that our demands are heard and not just dismissed.
Right.
If they still perceive us as weak, then there's to be frank, there's no reason for them to listen to us. Right. Because it won't make any difference. But if we show that we mean what we say,
because we got models we can go by. Number one, the natives. If you look at the reparations they got to become sovereign.
Right.
Within the nations, and they got the reservations. They're not in the best of shape, but they still are a sovereign nation within America.
Mm-hmm.
They got their own laws. They go by. They got their own education system. They own the casinos. They got the native casinos. They got all that stuff. And we can ask for that same sovereignty.
Another thing is that if we want to show, or if we want to really think about and understand our power financially, we have no further to look back at than the Black Panther movie.
Yeah.
Now say Disney does some foolishness in the next Black Panther movie, and as a mass we don't go to see it, and it flops. That shows the power that we have, because black people are what made that movie successful.
Mm-hmm.
And we have even more power in society when it comes to our dollars. And that's where we have to hit them, because their God is money. So all we have to do is hit them where it hurts, and that's in the pocketbook.
Yes, exactly. That's the only thing that gets their attention, Brother Ayapo. Nothing else seems to get their attention other than money. I mean, that's what I have seen over the years.
That's exactly it. And I see Robin the Girl Wonder just said, I loved football, but I quit watching with Cap. And I too quit watching football. Last year I boycotted it, but now I'm totally divorced from it.
Yeah.
And won't be going back. Now, if our people start our own leagues with Black owners and it's a Black, it's all Black, I'll start watching that. Mm-hmm. But short of that, I'm never going to turn on the NFL again. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Won't miss it. And the thing, and I was telling my friend the other day, how can Black people talk about revolution and we won't even turn off a football game?
Mm-hmm.
In solidarity.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%.
We gotta let some of this stuff go. If we're really serious about what we're trying to do. And I believe that many of us are. And there's always going to be those who aren't on our side. but that doesn't matter. All we need is a very strong core. And like I said, the 80-20 rule, 20% of the people affecting 80% of the change.
Yes, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I'm just looking at some of the comments.
Oh, okay.
I'm just looking. But, I just think that we have to come to the realization that we are just not going to get everybody on board. And I'm fine with that.
Right.
It really is not going to take a lot. It don't take a lot of people to make an impact, just like Brother Ayapo said. Yeah, you got to think about it. Some black athletes, with the money that they made, they really could have started their own league
Mm-hmm.
and got black owners in there, but they don't seem to be interested in that. They're tied to a slave contract, and they're more in the set of mind that they got to fulfill a contract for people that literally hate them. They're only just using you because you're generating that revenue for them.
And let me say this to the family too, because now winter is broke and it's all grassy outside. I snuck over to my neighbor's house, who's white, and I grabbed a handful of grass out from over there and ran back over to my house, and I laid it beside the grass in my yard. It is not greener.
That was a good test.
It is not greener. So one of the reasons we hold on to, like, even like the NFL players who they're feeling like, if we go and try to start a black league, it's going to be a league is inferior to whatever. If this person isn't giving me an Academy Award, then that doesn't validate me. And we have to let go of all that.
Yes.
That's their stuff, and let them have it. They're free to have their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We need to have our stuff that we hold in as high or higher regard. Their ice isn't colder, their grass isn't greener.
It sure isn't. And there are so many businesses out here, ladies and gentlemen, when they do you wrong in one, you don't have to stick with that business. And I wish black people would get out of this frame of mind as, I'm going to give them money anyway. I'm going to show them that I can afford it. That's stupid.
Right.
That's stupid. I don't know who came up with that. That is so dumb. I don't have to show a white person I can afford anything. The hell with that. We don't have to show them nothing. We got to make anything they do and say irrelevant. It doesn't affect us. But we have an ultimate goal to go after the reparations that we're entitled to. Screw what they got to say. I don't care what some high IQ dummy got to say.
That's exactly right. Which I mean, it's difficult to do because we were born and raised in this matrix.
Yeah,
But,
we were born and raised in all that trauma that our parents and grandparents and their all that trauma has been passed down to us.
Right, and it's not easy to break out of.
Mm-hmm.
But just because the thing isn't easy, that's not tantamount to it being impossible. It just means it takes a little more effort. But black people are already used to putting forth a lot of effort because we've always had to work harder and be smarter and be stronger, be faster, be quicker on our, mentally, physically, spiritually. We have always had to be stronger and better just to survive.
Yeah.
So breaking out of all these different things, all these different mindsets and all that. Yeah, it's a task that's ahead of us, but it's not impossible to overcome. And part of it is that we have to break the thinking ourselves and then reach backward and start breaking our children out of it.
Yes. And you brought up a good point. If you don't want to do anything else, you should want this for your children. Our children have been beaten up so badly in this school system. It's not even funny. It pains me when I see some of the stories that come out of what our students our black children are going through in the school system. you know that psychological damage on them is never going to heal. Just like that little boy the teacher snatched off the bus. He's never going to heal from that.
Mhm.
He's never going to be the same.
Right. And even not only with our children, or I was thinking, I think, well, this has to do with the children too. When you tell a child that your father's life was only worth $1, a dollar,
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
$1 for each child.
Yes.
And I'm like, what the? I got so angry.
I know.
That share, it took me a long time to cool down. I usually don't get like that. I literally had to leave my home and I just drove around. That pissed me off so bad.
Yeah. How does
$4.
award $4 to a loved one that lost his life? And you see the nature of the story. A SWAT team. They sent a SWAT team over loud music like it's a hostage situation.
Right.
I mean, what? These people don't have enough to do in their jobs. You got to send a SWAT team to somebody's house for loud music. A SWAT team. I mean, these people are insane.
So you're trying to tell me that you're going to hand money to a bunch of illegals. You're going to give disability to a bunch of opioid heads, but then you're going to gun down an innocent man and then give his family $4. You should have given the family nothing, and that would have been less of an insult.
Exactly.
But
And then what they ultimately did in the article was put the blame on the man that was killed, and what they did was make the sheriff deputies victims.
These freaking. See, I don't. I
know. When you think they can't be worse to us, they always find a way to show us they can be even more evil than anything we've already seen.
You know what? You're right. That's the one bit of congratulations I have to get, because I thought there was nothing they could do that would surprise me, and they finally figured one out, because that $4 that was beyond an insult.
Yes.
To give that to that family like that, and you're talking about two little girls that have to grow up in this system knowing this. This is why we need reparations for our people.
Yes.
And this is why we need to build our community. And these reparations, and that's another thing. The reason they don't want to give reparations to our people, the government doesn't, is because they know that with reparations we can start to actually build. But I don't care what they think or why they don't want to do it. We need reparations in our community so that we can actually build. And as I said at the beginning, not something that gives us like connects us to the government in any way that we're always beholden to them or something like that. We need the reparations in such a way that makes it so that we can separate.
That's right. And brother, we can't let them tell us what kind of reparations we get.
Exactly.
No, they don't get to tell us. We tell them.
Exactly. And I would want to say, as part of the reparations, we need to find an all-black construction company. All black owned demolition company to go and tear down that lynching memorial.
I know, right? Oh God, I was looking at that. I said, you know what that is, and please forgive me for saying that. That ain't nothing but the white man's wet dream. He gets to go there and look at all of the Negroes he got to slaughter.
Exactly. They love it. They love it, just like my wife, because I watch Criminal Minds a lot, and they talk about the way that serial killers like serial killers like to keep souvenirs and trophies. so that they can keep reliving the excitement of that moment. And in my opinion, that's exactly what that whole museum is about. And that memorial is that they can go and they can just keep reliving it and saying, brother, I sure do wish the good old days would come back.
I said the only one that's going to enjoy that shit is them.
Exactly.
I don't know. What do you do? You know, I was looking at a few pictures, and there were a few Black people that went there, and they were able to find their relatives memorialized in there. I don't even want to see that. I don't even want to see that. I don't. I do not want to go and even see one of my relatives memorialized at a lynching memorial. I don't want to see that. I'm sorry.
Exactly. Why would I want to see that? I'll tell you what, before you tear it down, put all those names into a book so that we can know who to find to start out passing out these reparations.
But yeah, I mean, that is just, it is such a useless thing to get. See, that's what I'm talking about. Anything that's attached to negativity, that's what they want to give us.
Right.
That's the thing that comes to mind to give to the Black community. But you know, as far as I'm concerned, they didn't give anything. Who was asking for that?
Nobody.
Well, brother, I want to thank you for joining me on the panel. And I know this was kind of at the last minute, but I'm glad you were able to come and we had this conversation. I want to continue this. I don't want this to be the end of this conversation, so that we can decide what direction we want to go in and how we're going to proceed on this. Because I definitely think with this sanctuary cities and counties and states that's going on, this is the time to make our move.
It is. And I really appreciate, number one, I appreciate you having this talk in the first place. It's one that we definitely need to have more of. And what I'm going to do is I'll do another share on reparations, and I will once again put links to the different organizations that are specifically geared toward reparations. And I'll also talk to you privately about starting to try to form up the list of demands, and also give something or come up with something for the family, so that we have a kind of brother, I forget what it's called, but when you have just like a standard thing that you can send out, and you basically just need to sign your name to it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go through a whole a form letter that that our family can have, that we can send out to our representatives and get this thing kicked off.
Yes, absolutely. So everybody in the chat, this is what I want you to do. I want some of you, if not all of you, please go out and look at what's in place in these sanctuary cities for illegal immigrants. And I promise you, you're going to get angry. Your blood's going to be boiling, especially when you think about the condition that we're in. So right. I want to say thank you for all coming. I really enjoyed our time together, and we will definitely be doing this again, because this is something that we need to take seriously, y'all. And True Royal is having a hangout next, so everybody please gravitate over there and support her hangout.
All right, I'll be there.
All right, family.
Remember, everybody, if you're not pissed off, if you aren't pissed off, you aren't paying attention.
Absolutely. And if you are not subscribed to Brother Yapa, please subscribe to his channel. Please do it. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful evening and night. Shalom.
Shalom, Sister Lisa. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.